Hi everyone, it's Heidi from Joyful Artistry. Here today to show you my two baby journals. This one I did on my Facebook page. I did the whole thing over maybe 5 sessions. If you want to hop on Facebook and go to Joyful Artistry by Heidi, that you can see the start to finish with this journal. And while I was doing this on camera, I was doing this little boy one off camera. So these are done with vintage linens. I probably have 90% vintage in here. Like this is not vintage here. This is something that came from Hobby Lobby. But the doilies vintage, the buttons vintage, these little buttons. I tried to use as much vintage as possible. So let's start. I'm going to start by going through the little boy journal first. This little guy has 2 signatures. I tore up a blue, I'm not sure if this was a napkin or if it was a placemat, but I used it as the tie for this little journal. I made a journal cover for both of them. This little journal cover is just a little linen doily. I added some vintage lace and some little, this is a little vintage off of a doily, little round, some netting and some vintage buttons. I wanted something that had layers to it, and I wanted a journal that had other things within it, and I felt like it needed something to hold it all together. So that's why I created those to go around these. And this has a little ball pin up here that I want to attach here. I don't have it attached today because I was going to take it apart to show you. So this is a vintage image. This little one, the baby squatting, I have a feeling somebody is like behind the baby holding the baby in this position. I pinned some netting and some satin, some different fabrics here that can stay here, or you can use it in the journal. Again, this is that napkin that I tore apart. I made a ruffle out of it, put some vintage buttons. You'll notice back here, this is corrugated cardboard. I ripped off a layer and then I put some white ink around it to give it, I like the heft, you know, it's thicker. And then I layered it up with a doily. This is satin and crocheted curtain. It was, I added that to the back with a piece of linen off of a placemat and then a doily. This is part of a book page. I loved that it still had some writing on it, but this is a place for journaling, put a picture, whatever you want to do with that. So that will end up getting pinned on here. And then I wanted this, just a little, like almost like a little baby bundle of some things that I wanted on here. And I just tied it with a little blue ribbon. This is a little baby book. And I added here just a little picture. And you know what? I just realized I wanted to sew this in so that, oh goodness, it's how it is some days, so that this will pull out like this. This is a vintage letter from the early, it's from the early 1900s. And then this is a card for like when somebody comes in and wants something done, that you can put the date, what it is, and then the date it was delivered. And then you open it up this way, and this is an inside of a vintage baby card. And then it can open here. This is the back of the card, this card. And then I put in here another little flip out. So I wanted something that had all different kinds of flips, and this will get fixed for sure. So that it flipped up, it flipped out. I wanted something else that could go on top of the journal because I loved how thick it was, and that was my goal, is to create something that was nice and thick. So here's the journal here. This little guy, isn't he cute in the vintage wicker chair? Look at his little shoes. I love this image. He is on a book cover. This cover is nice and thick. So I used an old book. I took the insides out, and that's the base. So it's nice and heavy and sturdy. I covered it with this dresser scarf that I cut apart. It was the first thing I put on. And then I just layered up. I added some lace underneath, some netting here that has this nice little edge on the side. Another book page underneath here. Book cover. And then just some more vintage linens. So we just layered it up so it's nice and thick and heavy. I love that. So then when you open it up, here, let me just move this out of the way. I created a pocket and a pocket. So this is just some vintage ephemera. I tucked that in here. This is a piece of lace. This is part of a baby romper. So I just ripped part of it off. I didn't want it to fit. I loved that it came off the book. And then I added this. I created a little notebook that you could use. You could add things to it, journal in there, and then it just tucks right in here like this. And this little embellishment is just pinned on, can be moved, can be used for something else. I added lace throughout the whole thing. This I cut out of the cover of a pattern book. Wanted to add that. These I call little paper dolls. There's different kinds of papers in here. This is an old check that I made a little pocket here. Just try and grab what's in there. Made this little flip up here for hiding some journaling. This is off of a vintage card, that vintage ledger, and some vintage dictionary page. You could put whatever you want in here. And then I just glued 3 sides down, and I took another image and see the baby. Oh, sorry, let me get it. The baby in the playpen. And then I just stitched some satin and a little bit of blue. This is off of a little girl's dress, and some netting. Just loved how that turned out. This is a vintage doily, a little vintage doily, or I'm not sure if it's that, or a wine coaster, a vintage wine coaster. I do like to put fabric flips in my journals. So I used some of that netting that had the printing on it, some of that napkin. This is some of the baby romper. And then this is like the satin inside part of a little girl's dress. These you can do journaling underneath. You could pin things on here on each layer. You could take this out, use it throughout the book for collaging. Lots of things. Here's the center of the first signature. I do have some fun little dangles that I've added coming out of the center of both signatures. Look at this vintage lace. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, so pretty. I love working with the vintage paper and lace. I like leaving the spiral on here where I've torn it out of the spiral book. I just love how that looks. Look at these 2 little guys. Are they cute or what? So I just layered up on here. I love this with the little sailor suit. Reminds me of my brothers and my cousins. Everybody always had a little sailor suit. Yep. And then some more vintage lace there. And this is from a card. This is from a vintage baby card. A little guy on there. And the little girl's in the other one. This is a little, it says new baby. It's a little pocket here. And then in here, this is just a little bank check. You can use it for journaling. You could use it for collaging. This is part of an old vintage baby card, that ledger paper that I like using so much. And when you open it, this was a card that you did this was the announcement. This was another vintage card that I used. And then you can just open it up and journal in here. And this is from Baby Magic, How to Give Your Baby a Bath, that you probably got at the obstetrician's office once you found out you were having a baby. In the little packets of information you end up getting. And in here, I tucked just some of that card, some of the linen from the placemat I've used, and some more of that Baby Magic book. And these are great for collaging. They're great to journal and then just tuck it back in. It's just held together with a little pin, little tiny safety pin. And then I just added some netting to it. Okay, and then this, I put this in here, this little handkerchief. I just sewed up the side on here and the side on the other, and then I made a little tag. This is out of a early 1900s catalog. It's the Larkin catalog, and I just cut him out of that and made a journaling tag. And that just stick right in here. And then this is just a piece of a vintage doily I cut apart, and then I pinned it on. It can stay there. It can go somewhere else. You could add layers to that. This is from a 1964 Sears and Roebuck catalog. Just added a little ephemera here from the ledger. Just put some more fabrics here with a little pin. And then this is part of that Baby Magic book. And Baby Magic, I don't know if they still make it or not. It's kind of like Johnson & Johnson Baby Wash, but it's a different company. This is some netting that I think was out of a dress because it has some crocheted lace on here. So I just added that, sewed that on. And then here, this is a letter. I just took a piece of a baby card, sewed a little bit of that satin curtain on the top, and there's a little letter in here. So I didn't touch the letter. I figured the letter, whoever ends up owning this little baby book can use it for collaging or whatever they want to use that for. And there, and then I added a little bit of fabric collaging there. Some more vintage lace, Sears and Roebucks. I just sewed this here. You could tuck something if you wanted to. You can use it as a little tuck spot to tuck some photos, tuck some cards or whatever you wanted to. This side, isn't that cute? Isn't that cute one? Just tucked a little picture in here and then added a little cluster. It's a little flip out here. And then here's the other side of that hanky, and I used a different piece of a doily, crochet doily there, and then another little tag on here, just to tuck in there. Some more lace here, and then I added, this is part of a dress. I sewed along here, added a little cluster, added some more lace, and then put a little vintage piece of ephemera in here. And then look at this little picture. Isn't that the cutest? So this reminds me of when I was a kid. This was probably from the 60s. I have pictures that are the same color, same size. Just reminds me of my brother. So I put this in here. I loved it. And then this here, this is the book of a page of little boy names. I didn't want to add anything more than just a little tab because I thought it would be fun for somebody to use. Maybe their kids' names are on here and they can put those in the book. And then this is a vintage calling card. And I just added a cluster here and put that in. This is linen, a piece of maybe a table scarf or a napkin that I ripped apart, folded up, and sewed around and made a pocket out of it. So this is the baby boy book. Here, just do that. I'm going to set this off to the side. Let's see where we're at. I'm going to go a little quicker with the little girl. So this one here, she has a little bit different. My daughter put this on her head. She's like, Mom, look, it's a bonnet. So I just thought that was kind of funny. And again, just vintage things sewed onto here. And then I added, we have this here that's going to get clipped on. And another cluster, I added some vintage buttons. I mean, isn't she adorable? And then the same type of layering on the back, the other side of that book page that had writing on it. And then I created one here, one of these little pullouts, and just added some pink ribbon to it. So yeah, so this just opens up. Lots of journaling space here. Didn't do much to that. Isn't she adorable? And then you just have a little pull out here. And then I added I just put together some fabric and some lace and some papers to be used throughout the journal. So just thought that would be fun to have on here. And she's so adorable. I love the vintage pictures. We have that. And then in this journal here, I added some vintage jewelry. And then on the dangles here, there's another piece of vintage jewelry that's similar. And I did add a little jingle bell here. And here's a luggage key. So in this one, let's see, I created I had these out. There's a double pocket here out of this little arm doily from a chair. So this one goes in let me put this one in the back first. Oh, let me show it to you first. So let me just pull this so it's not all tucked up underneath. Okay. Again, a vintage card. I sewed along the bottom of this, and then I sewed pages into this to use it as a booklet. I just added into the back pocket just a little page from the Sears and Roebuck's catalog. I just thought this was super cute. Again, to be used anywhere you want in the catalog. You can cut these out and use them as paper dolls. Use the wording. We'll put that back in a second. And then in the front, I made a little journaling tag using a vintage paper or vintage page out of the Sears and Roebuck's 1964 catalog. And then these, let me just tuck this back in here and I'll show you. It all goes right back in. Easy peasy. This one goes into the back part like that. And then this one goes into the front. It's like a little double pocket here. Just like that. I put in both of them music. This one says Dancing with My Baby. And this is a fabric flip. This is a little girl's dress. Some of the netting that has the flower on it. There's a little bit of satin, that satin curtain. This is like a little robe that was actually my grandmother's. That I cut a piece off of and put in here. And this is from a little girl's dress. I love having the fabric flips in here. And here's a piece of linen that I sewed in, linen doily. And then just pinned some netting and a ruffle on here to be used wherever you'd like. Lots of crocheted lace, part of the Sears and Roebuck's catalog, the ledger paper. And this one I didn't create a pocket. I used a Tim Holtz clip. And here in the other one, if you'll remember, there was a little boy on the edge of the paper. I took it off of this and I wanted to use this for the girl. And then there's a little pocket here with these two little embellishments in here, the calling card and then the bank check. Just fun, different things that I thought would be super cute to use. And again, another one of those announcements. This is an old baby card. And then lots of journaling space. And then this one I added a vintage baby picture. Can you see that? Super cute. And then just some fabric and another bit from that Baby Magic, the little Baby Magic book. And the Baby Magic book also, that's where the baby names came out of. And so I just clip this right here. And it can be moved wherever you'd like in the baby journal. Little flip out here with a collage. It says little girl's accessory. Oh, what the? Oh, I was almost going to take that out. So I made it a little pocket. I love the little ruffled pants. I just sewed that on to some vintage paper and added some vintage tablecloth. Little ruffle here with a button. And then these came out of the Sears catalog. It's just a little place to journal. And I just thought they were adorable, so I fussy cut them. And I put them on a vintage baby card. And so this is that doily that might be a coaster. Some vintage paper out of the Sears catalog. I loved her because I might have had one of those phones as a little girl. I was born in 64, so I love using the 1964 Sears catalog. And here's just a little collage on a flip out. And another little collage here. I just pinned this on, but this is all glued down. Nice little hiding places. Ledger paper, the Sears paper with this beautiful vintage lace on here. Made a little flip out. This is a vintage Valentine's Day card. This is part of a vintage collar off of a dress or a shirt or a sweater. And then you flip it out. Just make sure I'm in the frame. Yep. And then in here is a tuck spot. And I used this. So, oops. Oh my gosh. Some of the pictures I used because it reminded me of other things. And this picture, I believe, is probably from the 40s. Because I have a picture of my mom. Same black and white. Little outfit, little hat, sitting in the water at the beach like this. So I wanted to put this in here because it made me think of my mom. Then this is on the right side here, this is the other side of the piece of linen I sewed in. And I added some layers here. So this is all glued together. This is all one piece. Yet it's not glued to here. I pinned it so that if you want to glue it down, you most certainly can. If you want to move it somewhere else and create like a nice side pocket, you can do that. And there's a pocket here. And here's the baby girl name page. And just sewed a little cluster there. So that I just tucked in here. And then I just added a little cluster to the bottom here. I love this ruffle so much. This is so pretty. This is out of that satin curtain. And then I did another one of the doilies, and I added a little bit of lace and netting here. And then this little cutie pie I added a little cluster in the corner. So lots of vintage pages in here. Just some nice cluster here on this flip out. The little pin and a bow. And then this is a flip up here. I used a vintage paper clip and added some netting and lace on there. And then I collaged the inside. This is out of a vintage pattern. And then just collaged some things. It says baby's boot there. That's out of Harper's catalog. And then I have this in here. This, it's a card, I didn't do anything to it because I thought I just want to leave some things and some spaces for people to add their own mark to the book. And if they want to use it in different places, they could do that. Oh, some more of that, some more vintage lace. This is just beautiful. It's so soft. The other side of that doily. And then this is out of a catalog. And I loved it because it had the little bonnets on here and the little girls on this side. This is from the early 1900s. And the boy one, I had cut out the little boy in red on the card, and that's came out of the same catalog as this. And so did this one. This one came out of that catalog. Oh, and this is vintage scrapbook paper out of a child's scrapbook. Three ring spiral scrapbook. I think it's from the 50s because the cover has that blue and red, the 50s blue and red color. These are some vintage ephemera. I just added a little cluster here. It's from the Clark's Spool Cotton Company. And then this is also a thread company as well. I just love the little girl. And some more of that. This is just a ruffle from the linen placemat, and just added just a couple little elements here, a little stamen, pink stamens from a center of a flower, and some little dress, a little piece of a dress. Lots of places to journal. And this is a card, but of course I used part of the card for another project, so I needed to put something here. So this was Sleep Little Baby Lullaby. And then just added some ruffle and different things here. And here's the back of that journal. So these are the my little flip throughs from my little boy and my little girl journals. Here, let me just pull them back in and put them back together. Ooh. And they're chunky. They're really chunky. They're chunkier than I thought they would be. But that's okay. There's a lot of stuff in there, a lot of places to journal and collage and put pictures. So I just wanted to give you a quick little flip through, which turned into a little longer than I thought. So I just appreciate you all being here. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take the time to subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate that. And I will chat with you all later. Thanks. Thanks for being here.